477. We're a robotics team in Toledo, Florida, and we competed in the first tech challenge on parts. I'm a programmer on the team, and
Yeah, and I'm Yug. I'm a rookie member on the team.
so if you want to just give like a little introduction, like.
Yeah, so we're part of the first program in FTC, and so I'm Yug. Could you introduce yourself a little bit and give us a brief summary on your job?
Hey, hi, you, and hi, Partha. Thanks for including me in this. I'm Dr. Rekha, and I work for UF Health. I'm basically a research coordinator at Medical College. So I work on clinical trials and checking on new vaccines that comes out. We have a tie-up with pharmaceutical companies, and we kind of administer them to patients. We recruit them, and we follow the ethics of clinical trials. I just check overall the regulations of how it is going on. I also teach my fellow residents and fellow doctors. Like I work with them, and like I kind of teach them or guide them on regulations of clinical trials. So that's my job basically.
Okay, what are some cool and interesting projects you have accomplished throughout your job?
We had just completed CMV vaccine trial for the cytomegalovirus. So there are new drugs in the market, and because of our clinical trials, our recruitment and enrollment, like there was a lot of side effects. So like with with our inputs to pharmaceutical companies, we have new drugs with less side effects, and same as well for HIV vaccine that's in the market. I'm sorry if it is too much, but that's my work.
What about
I'm here too.
Yeah. What about how do you
stop me and ask me questions?
Yeah.
No problem.
So, how do you see your skills transferring into the field of robotics?
Pardon me?
How do you see like all your skills?
How do you see your like skills learning if you like your like knowledge of robotics? How do you see those skills learning robotics transferring to your job? So maybe people in robotics, like what they learn, how could that transfer to your job possibly? Like some skills that they would learn.
Robotics, I am not much aware of it, but yet, yeah. We have, apart from vaccine trials, we have medical devices trial going on too, but I'm not a part of it, but I can just brief something where they use AI and stuff. They're planning to use like AI and stuff with respect to medical devices that are coming into the market. They are specially designed for patients who have had strokes and who want to who cannot walk after a stroke because of a nerve problem. And finally, they're kind of, it's in trial. They're kind of trying to incorporate some AI or artificial intelligence to the devices that they make, which are going to help the stroke patients to rehabilitate. So it is yet to start. It's kind of, we're all doing some research work and groundwork on it, but probably it might take some time. I think it's going to kick off start in 2026. They are expecting some funding from National Institute of Health, so probably that time it might start.
So I know you talked about how you guys a lot of clinical trials. So I think one thing in robotics that like is very important is testing, efficient testing of all your mechanisms and things. So I'm guessing that you guys have to utilize a lot of testing to make sure your product is like gonna work 100% before you put it out there. So like, would you talk about maybe like how much testing you have to go through for your trials and stuff?
For drugs and medical devices, that's where exactly you're hitting it. So for drugs and medical devices, generally for vaccines and other medicines, it takes years together. It approximately, I would say, the less is 10 years. So it has to go to 3 phases of drug trial before it gets into the market. For devices, it's more easier, and because we don't test devices on like cell lines or animal models as we do it with drugs and vaccines. For devices, it's going to go directly into kind of human volunteers who volunteer to participate in the study. So it takes like roughly, I would say, around 5 to 7 years once the new device comes into the market. And I think, I'm not more into it, but this is what like the overall kind of things, like previous market stuff, previous devices that they designed for Parkinson and stuff. I think it took 5 years, roughly 5 years to get into the market. Yeah.
So, since in robotics you have to communicate with everything you do based off like maybe sharing your code or sharing like your CAD to help other teams out. Could you talk a little about how communication with others helps you guys on a day-to-day basis?
You mean the normal communications?
Yeah.
I mean,
like collaboration with others.
The collaboration, yeah. We have a kind of database for our trials, and like our everyday, like we work with patients and our regular inputs go into those database, which can be easily accessed anywhere in the US. So then, there is not only one site that is going to conduct a trial on a device or a vaccine or whatever it is. So there are 14 sites currently in US, like who, they work on this trial, whatever drug trial. It might be a drug trial or it might be a medical device trial or whatever it is. So there are 14 sites sponsored by the National Institute of Health. So we have a common database which is going like we give our inputs daily when we work with patients, like what we observe with them, what kind of precautions or where we have to be cautious and stuff. So it's communicated from like hierarchy level, and so everybody of us can access the database. So that's how we generally communicate. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. And to be successful in robotics, like we have to lay out plans dictating what we're going to do for like months in advance. And you've talked about how long it takes to produce different devices and like medicines. So could you talk a bit about like how you guys lay out plans and how you use intricate planning to be successful, and maybe some tools that you use for planning?
Sure. So planning. So when I say I kind of brief, like it takes place in 14 sites. So we have a group of people, like it's a multidisciplinary approach. It's not only biological sciences. We have experts from other fields too, like computer engineers or a robotic engineer, a mechanical engineer, a physicist, and a doctor, a physician, and like an environmentalist, and a lot of people. Like it's a multidisciplinary approach. So basically, like they all get together, discuss. Like we have conferences, we have a lot of symposiums. So they get together, they share their ideas, and so like that's where the planning starts. And then like all the 14 sites get together. So and then each respective person comes to their site and they delegate work to the rest of the people who work there, which is again also multidisciplinary. Say for in my team, I have I'm basically a biotechnologist. I have a public health analyst. I have a policy analyst, and then we have a drug trial regulatory analyst. We have a chemist and stuff. So we all get together, and that's how our planning starts. And then we draft a proposal together. We share our ideas. We draft a proposal by taking inputs from everywhere, from all those people, and then we submit those inputs to our whoever is up in the hierarchy. And again, they all get together and they submit it to the National Institute of Health, and it will be reviewed by a group of members or board members from National Institute of Health. And they kind of send us a lot of questions and queries. From time to time, they conduct meetings which we are all supposed to attend, and then we have to clear the queries, and then we got to kind of answer their questions, safety measures and stuff. And then finally they review it 3 times, and then finally they kind of approve the project and the funding, and then finally the project starts from the initial state. That's how generally it happens.
Yeah, so that sounds like a lot of steps that you need to take to like have everything go your way. So
Yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot, and it takes a lot of all these steps. I mean, as I tell, it's not that easy. Each and every step will be kind of critically scrutinized, and like because like we are getting into humans, like it's not something like you work with something else that doesn't have life. You just go away like that. Something happens, safety precautions and stuff. So you're basically working with humans. So we got to be more cautious.
Yeah, so I agree with that. So, another question that I had, so since in robotics you had to adapt to sudden changes in your robot, especially during competitions, it's like let's say if a certain part changes or something, you need to change your code, etc. So, what are the problems and like different other things that is a key component to success when you have to adapt to certain changes in your job to make your product easier to build and easily changeable?
Okay, that's a challenging question. Yeah. So we plan kind of short term goals and long term goals. We kind of plan a project in such a way like we have some long term goals and short term goals. So we kind to try, hit one by one as possible. And it is very important that we work together as a team, and then we take the inputs in a very positive way, like a criticism or whatever it is. Like you go, they say, hey, this is not correct. Like we are not kind of like satisfied with your work and stuff. So we got to take those inputs positively, and like we got to cheer up our teammates. It's basically a more of a teamwork, because I already told you it's a kind of multidiscipline. It's not one subject. There are many people involved here. It's difficult to satisfy their needs. So basically, we try as much as possible and keep pushing and moving forward. And of course, there are times like we feel we think of giving it up, and like we are covered by a lot of other kind of negative stuff. But yet, like we kind of take a break and see like what has to be done, and like talk, give it some time, and then kind of move together as a team.
okay. Yeah, so I think you already touched on this a bit, but of course in robotics, like you get people with all different skill sets, especially on our team. There's like so many different positions. So if you could talk a bit more, I know you already touched on it, but if you could talk a bit more about how common it is for like different people with different skill sets and different like areas of expertise to work together.
Um, um, So, like earlier, like in modern days, say even for like whether it is a drug or a vaccine trial, it is not like only a biologist or a scientist who studied something on the drug can do. So when a drug comes to market, I mean, it's not only kind of the person, he or she or whoever it is going to take the drug. So very importantly, we also check on the cost of the drug, that it should be kind of reachable for everybody to use the drug. That is more important, because the potential of science research is for like it's for science, for the betterment of human society, right? So like we have a lot of public policy analysts who do this. So we also kind of, when we do our clinical trials, it's mostly like we also give them like perks and gifts and stuff. So we make it, it's not really, a scientist cannot do all those stuff. So we have social case managers, other social workers who kind of get into the community, know their community needs, and kind of make them understand the importance of drugs. So it's kind of I would say it's a more like uh, uh, people should, it's again your attitude, it's your own attitude, like what you do, like how do you want to kind of take this for the betterment of society, or for like a drug to reach into the society. So I think that answers your question.
Yeah, I think that's a really good like answer to how different people can work together, and like shows in robotics how you can apply that also. So one more
Yeah.
question.
Sure.
Like in robotics, often we face like major setbacks when we're doing something. So like for example, our final competition this year, we around a week before a major part in our robot broke, but we like set out a plan to like fix that problem and did what we needed to do to fix it. But
yeah, oh yeah. So here, like we talk about years to years. Like say for example, we plan for a drug that has to come to the market. Say I would say we are currently working on a virus that we targeted. So the project is it's going to kickstart in 2024, and you know that we have time until 2032. So it's not something like we kind of do it today or we missed something last week. So we have to plan very well in advance at a very slow pace. I already told you, like we set long-term goals. What are the long-term goals? In 10 years, what are we going to accomplish? In the next 15 years, what are we going to accomplish? Or 20 years, what are we going to accomplish? So those are our long-term goals. Short-term goals, okay, the next month, what are the things that needs to be completed in order to achieve our long-term goals? Or the next week, what things should we complete to achieve? Again, like, I mean, so and everybody of us, because it is a interdisciplinary thing, each and everybody of us who's working in such projects. So we fix a goal because our goals are interrelated. I may have my long-term goal would be matching a policy analyst long-term goals. So our goals are interrelated. So we try to kind of communicate and cooperate together and take our goals and complete the task in time. And in case we miss something, we make it clear. Like, I mean, we do have a lot of lapses and we lag behind a lot of things because like it's 14 sites and it is difficult to cooperate. We have a lot of technical difficulties and we also have a lot of funding difficulties, but we plan as much as possible well in advance to avoid all the chaos.
So thank you for that. That answers my question. Did you have anything else that you wanted to ask?
No.
Okay, so yeah, I think we really learned a lot from this. Thank you for coming on for us. It was great, and I think we'll learn a lot from this.